Hello everybody. What's up? I'm here with Adin to see how I got roasted. Even though I'm gonna tell you ahead of time, I'm very much in doubt they managed to, whoever that person is, managed to roast me harder than what my close friends and family do. So I just doubt it. Sup Adin? How you doing? So you're an
I'm doing fine.
and you know way too much stuff, so I brought you in because I didn't watch this video ahead of time. So in case he says something smart, I needed to have someone with me who would know. So I brought you.
Will
I
do
mean,
my best.
you kind of volunteered because you're the one who actually sent me this video, but then I jumped on the opportunity and I said, I don't want to watch it ahead of time. I want to watch it live with you all guys. But in case that it says something smart, which I doubt, then it's nice to have an extra security blanket, and that's you, Adin, because you know lots of stuff. Okay, people are saying there is an echo. Do you hear an echo? Sorry, echo.
I don't hear echo. I have a
Yeah,
little bit of
neither do I.
delay.
Kenny Warmer, always good to consider the possibility you may be wrong. I know. Yesterday I had like this moment, special moment, where I forgot what D-Day was. Yeah, and that was a little bit embarrassing. Gigi is saying no echo for me. Oh, investor. Oh shit. All right. Let me say first, smash the like, everyone. It is free. It is free, and the best way to support Rebecca is by super chat, super sticker, or signing up to her Patreon. I actually like the Buy Me Coffee website better. Investory. I know you already have Patreon there, but I kind of like Buy Me Coffee more for some reason. But Patreon is cool too. It's basically the same. Even if you use Google Apple Pay, just know that Patreon takes like a good chunk of it. All right. Super chats, young. Yes. No, investor, I love you. Don't no apologizing here. All right. Yeah, Adin, are you ready?
Yeah, shoot.
Wait, no. D-Day is Doomsday, the day the civilian doom was born. I know, right? All right. Okay, so let's share. I want to use this part. Okay. Put yourself in the middle, so Adin, so you can see me. All right. So this YouTuber, what's his name? Do you know him? I don't know him. I don't know anything about him. Is it really Rathbone, like I said in the?
I know he have a little bit of, he made some cringy videos about the conflict, which he shows the same ignorant you can expect from any anti-Zionist. And I know he have some allegations of, is a kind of like school music, and he have some, allegedly some relations with these students who are underage.
What? Underage students?
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
Right. So there is one thing I want to know. I'm pretty
Maybe.
sure he had. There are more views on this video of him debunking me or whatever than the actual video I published. Yeah, it gets 15K, and like the mine had 13K views. That's so sad. So sad. Anyway, I can roast my own video as we go, since I can tell you what my lovely friends said about it. So I guess there is a reason I only got 13K views, because apparently I talk like a school teacher and it's kind of boring. Anyway. So wait, did you say that he blocked you and stuff? Did you share that story with the
Yeah.
audience or not? Oh, you had.
I mean, he blocked me after I just told him, after I point out some of nonsense he said on Twitter. Because he said nonsense, because Jews don't have claim to Israel because they're Polish. This is this level of argument.
So what, Polish cannot live in the place that they were born because they're Polish? That's racist. No, I mean, seriously, like, let's say somebody is Polish, like 100% real Poland, and he got a citizenship here because, or something, or moved here, bought a house where legally and stuff, like, should he be expelled because he's not Middle Eastern? Like I said, even Christian Polish, I don't know. It's like those arguments are so effing stupid. I feel so, at least. No comment on your side, Adin. All right, I'm gonna mute you if you're gonna keep clicking without. Adin.
Just
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Is there like a delay or what? All right, I'm shooting.
Sometimes. I can't hear him. I can't hear the video.
You cannot hear it?
Yeah, I can't hear the
fun
video.
Stuff. All right. Let's see if I can change it to the audio settings. How do I do that then? If it won't, how come you can't hear it? Yeah, guys saying no sound. So weird. You know, can you do it from your computer? Can you share? Is it a possibility?
I don't know.
Can you not?
Try to play the video again.
Here.
Do you hear?
Yeah.
Maybe
I think there is an issue. No, I didn't use StreamYard for a long time when I was streaming, so I forgot. But I'm pretty sure there's like a issue with...
The viewers complain of sounds.
Yeah, I know. I know you cannot hear it. This is why I'm asking whether you can share the screen or I have to do some like complex maneuvering to make sure you hear it.
Share a screen won't. I don't think it will help.
What do you mean? You can share it, like share your screen and then they're gonna hear it.
Yeah, but it will just show what I see on my screen, so it won't really
just open it. I mean,
if it won't show.
No, I mean just open it on yours. It will show you. It will hear. I think it's a my computer problem. So sorry.
I don't know. I'll try.
Just open it like and share the screen, and I think it will be okay.
I'll try again.
What?
I'm trying to find the link.
I'll text you.
Okay.
Do you want me to text you?
Share screen. Okay, now you see?
All right. Yeah. Good. Can you make it big? Or let's make us bigger too. All right.
Okay. Better. Okay. Let's see if it sounds work.
Historic Palestine as we know it.
Do you hear?
That's right. Yeah, I hear it. All right. Let's play. Thank you. 2nd century by the Romans.
Okay, now we can start. Okay.
Freed Palestine from the Jewish occupiers that used to call it Judea. The great Roman liberators made sure Jews were forbidden from settling anywhere in Palestine or in its immediate vicinity. And as part of their spiritual cleansing process, they named the land Syria Palestina.
So let's just accept everything that's been said at face value and say, yes, this is all very true. And so is this the justification for a genocide in the present moment, what the ancient Romans did? If the ancient Romans persecuted the Jews, does that mean that a Jewish ethno-state then has the right to persecute and genocide the indigenous people that live on this land today? Answer, of course not. You cannot just
Okay. So you already made the straw man. Basically try to use basically an argument that doesn't make what was not the purpose to justify what he tried to claim what is justified. Like
I
it doesn't
mean, the
relate.
film is called "The History of Palestine." What does it has to do with anything?
Point out history of Palestine is not about whatever or not the treatment of the Palestinians currently is legitimate or not. It's the two different issues. Like mixed between each other, just a huge storm, and it shows the lack of leap of logic. I mean, either history is real, either we ignore the history, and then all the argument about Jews being colonizers is literally irrelevant, or we do or we don't. You can't have both ways.
Right. No, I agree. Like he starts strong with like ignoring what the video is about.
Yeah, I mean, they always jump between the logic. Basically, it doesn't justify the colonialism, but when you explain the historical context, it doesn't justify the genocide. And when you explain it does genocide, it doesn't explain the apartheid. And when basically we just keep doing the goal shifts. We keep shifting the goal each time.
Yeah, but all those things like super matter if it comes to Jews. Like it doesn't matter to them that there are people actually living on the land and being born there. Like to them, it's like it's non-issue if the Palestinians wants to genocide it, and if it's actually part of their agenda, like the written statement of that they have, then it's okay because we don't belong to this land, or because we are something. But it doesn't matter that there are people who were born here.
Eventually,
So this is when history matters, but when it comes to the Palestinians, then the history of Palestine suddenly doesn't matter. Nobody should know it. Nobody should care about the history of the area from a Palestine perspective because it doesn't matter because they're already there.
Every stories matter, and then you just made nonsense with Storman, or it doesn't matter, and then all the justification that the Palestinian used to attack Israelis is illegitimate. You can't have both ways.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So let's continue.
Justify anything. I mean, genocide is never justifiable, right? Still less so when you try to cite the miracle book and ancient history.
Alas, the Samaritan.
Did you use the Bible in the video?
No.
So he made another Storman.
Yeah.
Magic book, yeah.
Who stayed in the land kept revolting instead of the Jews. So to make it easier to control all forms of Israelites, they had to split the land into smaller chunks.
Okay, this is a common Zionist trope to revert back to ancient history. They often cite the Bible, biblical times. In fact,
Again, you didn't use the Bible, so
it's not even. It's even after the New Testament was written. Like this, does this guy understand like the timeline? Like everything I'm talking about in this video, like during Jesus' times, it didn't happen yet. Not like the Jewish, the revolts,
millennia after the Bible.
Like it's millennia after the Hebrew Bible, and it's a century at least after the Christian, like the New Testament. Yeah.
I mean, basically make the statement that basically every Jewish history just need biblical mythology.
No, okay. I wanna cry. This dude, I worked hard to summarize the non-existent Palestinian history in 4 minutes, which is a lot of words for something that didn't happen. And then he gets more views than I do for nothing.
This is our algorithm work.
I mean, I get it. Okay, but I also uses my video. So if I'm so boring and it starts with my video, shouldn't people like clicking out because I'm boring or something? I don't know, it's kind of offensive. Like, I don't know. I kind of want to like close the lights, turn the lights off, like maybe sit in the corner eat a pint of ice cream by myself.
Yeah, I mean, you can keep quiet about
I mean,
it. Yeah.
I know the algorithm is against people who speak in
Okay.
favor of Trump and Israel, especially apparently, like if you are like tagged as a Trump supporter, then people immediately got their exposure way down. That's something that happens.
Okay,
Kind of sad.
so we continue.
Yes.
It's based on a very, very flimsy historical record that really can't be proven. Okay, and it's so very far removed from the reality of the present day. All of the international standards, laws, principles that have been set by our institutions. We live in 2024, folks. Okay.
Okay.
What
so
do you
when
mean? There aren't records of the persecution of Samaritans? Is he out of his mind?
When historical records
this is this is Byzantine time, right? That's the Eastern Roman Empire already.
The 6th century.
And they had decimated the Samaritans. Actually, I don't even remember myself like the exact timeline. Is it like still the Roman Empire or just the Eastern Roman Empire that had split the land into? Yeah, it's that they split the area into three, Palestina prima, segunda terrienta. So they did it so that it would be easier to manage the area because of revolts. But they had decimated the Jews. They killed hundreds and thousands, and then they killed hundreds and thousands of Samaritans as well. And it's like, what is he saying? Like, why is this little piece of shit has 60,000 followers and more views than I got on my video? What is he saying that it never happened? And this happened by the hands of Christians, right? Like according to their agenda, it should be supporting their agenda of anti everything Western. So what the fuck is wrong with him?
I guess he just want to make the argument that history doesn't matter because it happened centuries ago. It's only matter when there is modern institutions or something.
But why does it? What do you mean it doesn't matter? Like, what if people want to hear about the history of the Samaritans? Like, the Samaritans don't matter. Their history doesn't matter. Like the Yazidis don't matter, the Samaritans don't matter, the Assyrians don't matter, the Armenians don't matter. Nobody matters. The only ones who matter are the Arabs.
Yeah,
that's the vibe.
Okay. We live in a post-World War II world order, okay? We have this is why we have international law, so that crazy psychopaths cannot go back to biblical history to justify their ethnic cleansing campaign. And so this is what I always say, and I'm stealing this from Noam Chomsky. I am unashamedly stealing, but I definitely listen to people smarter than me on this, and what I can tell you is that biblical rights have no status in the world today. No one can revert back to 2,000 years ago.
I mean, it's ironic that you mention international order and post-World War II when international order of post-World War II is what created Israel in the first place.
It did. I mean, yes and no, but the international law was, a lot of it was Jewish thinking, right? Like, we gotta protect from something like the Holocaust happening.
This is what gave legitimacy for Israel in the first place. So it's quite you shoot yourself in the foot when you use that as an argument against Israel.
I don't know if it's what I like. I don't like this approach either, that it what gave Israel. I think real life gives a legitimacy.
This is history. Okay, we can talk about the technicality, what directly create Israel, but what gave the international legitimacy is international post World War II, not the biblical claim, but the same international, what he cited as, it's kind of like
you're saying it's the same institution. So but I don't I don't like this approach either, to be honest. Like, I don't agree with you
approach is about
specifically.
historical facts.
It's true.
I mean, his opinion, he claimed, but ancient history and whatever his definition of ancient history is, it doesn't matter. It's only matter institution post World War II. So let's go with that. That institution post World War II gave legitimacy to Israel.
I mean, did you read the title? It says history. This is a video on history. Did you read the title at all? Like the full history, from I started where I started because this is where I thought was like, okay, this is the only place where Palestine could, like, that's the earliest you can go for it to be something that resembles Palestine, right? Like if I go all the way back to Plishtim in the Bible, like they were gone by the time of the Romans. Like they weren't there, and it wasn't Palestine, and it was just like 5 cities. And I was like, you know what, if I go there, that would be way too complex for this video. Like people would get confused. I thought, like, I don't know, it's like I just thought it would be harder to understand.
Anti-Zionists tend to get triggered every time we're talking about history. They always, no matter what context, even if you specifically tell them it's history, it is not relevant, whatever we should do today, it's just pure factual history, they automatically get triggered. Oh, it doesn't justify genocide. It doesn't justify apartheid. Like if it's your conclusion automatically, then it's your problem, not ours.
Yeah. No, for like I just, you know, like you see, I'm behind the scenes was like being super generous and like saying, okay, full history of Palestine. What's the earliest point in history I can go to start even like trying to claim this history as anything to do with Palestine, right? Which is a made up entity, and everything is fake about whatever, you know, whatever. Like I'm gonna be generous. I'm gonna like make a move towards their case or whatever, and I'll go the earliest you can go for their history to start, right? And this is like, that was my thought process. Like I'll go all the way back for when it started to be like, you know, like when it starts to be maybe a little bit of something you can claim is the history of Palestine. But like my generosity is met up with this crap. Can you believe it? Like seriously, like could have ended with nothing. Just said you guys have no history and like closed the video.
Oh, or 3,000 years ago, or 500 years ago, or 1,000 years ago, or 1,500 years ago to justify a war crime. That is insane. And no country does this except Israel. Israel cites religious propaganda.
In Greek and Armenia are example of using their own mythology to justify their existence, but even if it includes atrocities. I mean, Greek kind of like use its national myth of, you know, of ancient Greek people to justify basically deporting all the Muslims from the land.
I mean, I don't think you need an excuse to justify deporting Muslims. I think
internet. I'm just saying that Israel is
what?
that even if we assume that this is what Israel is doing, it's far cry from being the only one doing it.
I mean, what is the Quran then? Like,
I mean,
what?
let's talk about.
No, did you see the videos from Syria now? Like it's funny, the Al Julani, like I'm so nice and cute. They're already ethnically cleansing, and like the Alawites, and they started with the Christians, and now the Alawites, they're like.
Let's ignore people who are considered controversial. Let's talk about well-recognized countries that there is no real question for the existence, like Greek.
Like Syria is fake. I love that. I love that we agree now that Syria is fake, so that therefore we shouldn't like even talk about it.
I'm not talking about Syria. I'm not talking about the current government. I'm not sure what the current government will be. But even let's ignore Syria. Let's focus on countries more concrete, like Greek, for example. Like Greek used its national myth from centuries ago to justify its existence, that including expelling and massacring even non-Greek people from its territory. So even if we assume, even if we take his assumption, is strong and is basically, it's factually false to argue that Israel is the only one who doing it, even if we assume that Israel is doing it at all.
Right, let me. Brandon left, and thank you for support. Dumb people are more popular. Thank you. I don't know. You're supposed to tell me you can do it. Wait.
Justify a settler colony. I mean, materially, what they amount to has nothing to do about the Israelites
Adin,
that were
stop
written
for a
about in the
second.
Bible.
I wanted to say that, like, I wanted to complain here. I think there is a delay or something. Anyway, dumb people are more like. Brandon, give me hope that my channel would succeed and flourish one day. Don't be like dumb people are more popular, okay? Thank you, though. Gil Johnson, another one. Thank you so much for your support. All right. Okay, let's continue. Can you go back a little bit? Because I said something I didn't hear.
What they amount to has nothing to do about the Israelites that were written about in the Bible, or, you know, the King David's temple that fell in circa BC.
It wasn't King David temple, it was King Solomon, Mara, but okay.
Etc. And how God has promised the Israelites the land, and that King David shall return. None of this bears.
I mean, you don't even understand what you claim is relevant at all, so.
No. I also, like, this is a section where I talk about the Samaritans who don't believe in, like, they believe that everything is in Samaria, in the Samaritan, in the Shomron, you know, like they believe that, like, the temple is in Beit El and in Mount Gerizim and not Mount Moriah. So him saying, like, the temple, like this area, like geographical area is mentioning, is like it's in the context of the Samaritans. The Samaritans believe, like, just take it a little bit north, like a notch, and then you can maybe, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, I just saying it's like a failure on top of failure. It's like not in.
Yeah, I mean, he basically supposedly debunking argument that wasn't even been made. He basically, this video is about history, but he is automatically talking about all the human rights of the Palestinian people. Like, those things aren't related at all. Like, you can't project in what you want to talk about on a video what is not what is about. Yeah.
Any semblance of relevance in the rational reality of the world, you know? I mean, it's so silly. And we don't need to understand a context going back to whenever Israel says this is the start of human history. I mean, you know, anybody can make up a story, you know, from thousands of years ago and say, this is my version of history and it's the only correct one. This Israeli exceptionalism, like they're just the chosen people. You just got to accept that whatever they say about history, that's the truth. Em Yisrael Chai,
I'm Israel Chai.
Why do I bother studying? Like, this is so depressing. Like, why do I bother going to resources, reading articles, like going to ancient books, ancient texts to try to figure out what happened, what didn't happen, when you can just make up your history and be popular online? It's so depressing.
The entire Palestinian narrative is relying on that myth that they are the descendants of the Canaanites and they lived there unstoppable for thousands of years, and those Europeans arrived out of nowhere. This is their narrative. Like, do you think this narrative is irrelevant to their actions to this day? Do you think we should ignore that narrative? Do you think we should apply the same logic and basically throw it out the window and basically say, if Israeli so-called narrative doesn't matter, then so does the Palestinians. Like, let's ignore whatever or not whether narrative is more accurate. Like, according to his logic, we should automatically ignore any narrative of history that ever been made by anyone. Like, And it's something that basically no one who investigated the conflict ever do. Like no one just decided, let's ignore the historical narrative of people to try to understand the conflict. Like which is
It's deep. That's very deep.
I mean, you need to, even if you don't agree with the historical narrative, you still need to study it to understand at least the people who made it, to at least understand their action.
You know what I've realized? Like, just people hate studying. That's the problem. Like, why do they have problem with the Jews? They're like, oh, you'll run the world and stuff. And like, okay, you can be Jewish if you just study. And we're like, study? If you lost your mind, I don't do books. I was born to lead, not to read. Studying. I don't want to study. And then there's like this whole world is like, oh, study. I don't study.
And I think that because he read some non-Chomsky, know everything, basically, know everything that need to be known. Just read some non-Chomsky, and yeah, he figured it out.
I don't think he read him. I think he just watched him talk online, like on videos and stuff, like, and also like the summarized version in TikTok or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was listening to Noam Chomsky like talk. I think it's beyond his ability.
I mean, I try to listen to Noam Chomsky. It's really insufferable, no matter on what he's talking about. Even if you talk about linguistics, it just sounds so boring. Like, yeah. Let's continue.
Exist by rules that are defined. They're separate from the rest of the world. They live above it. International laws clearly don't apply because King David's temple fell in 4 BC. And, Israel was etched in stone in the Merneptah stele. Okay. So therefore, more javelin missiles dropped on 3-year-old children, please. Thank you.
Thus, the province of Syria Palestina and neighboring regions were organized into the provinces Palestina Prima, Palestina Secunda, and Palestina Terrieta. First,
What year was that again?
And third, Palestine. And so the Byzantines had liberated Palestine by mass the Samaritans. Now, Palestine remained a land that was free, but also free of people, longing for the best humans in the world to finally invent Islam and come to settle.
I mean, I think it's all ahistorical. The fact of the matter is, before the British Mandate, before the Balfour Declaration, Jews and Arabs in the land of Palestine lived peacefully. And it only became an issue when, predictably, as the Zionists predicted, that the imposition of a Jewish supremacist ethno-state built on the idea that Jews have priority and are given first-rate citizenship and subjugating another social group, that is what sort of started everything. That's where the transgression started, okay? That's why it's called the Jewish Colonization Association, not the Jewish Liberation Association.
I mean, basically, false premise upon false premise.
It's ahistorical. How dare I speak of the times before Islam was invented? Could it be?
Yeah, it's only relevant when we can read it on a modern newspaper and basically whatever the Palestinian narrative coincidentally decide it's relevant. Like
if it wasn't recorded with a camera, it never happened. It's irrelevant. It didn't happen. Islam always existed.
I know
it was always there.
It's relevant because it's only relevant because I saw that newspaper from 1897 that says the Zionists will colonize Palestine. Of course, ignoring what the word colonize even meant, because colonize back then even referred to Arab settlements, not only Jewish settlements. It was used by many people. There was Armenian colonies, there was Bosnian colonies, there was Jews who lived in Eastern Europe were called colonies. It doesn't mean anything that you say. It doesn't mean anything when the Zionists back then used the word colonization. It was just a generic word that used to describe any type of immigration and settlement.
Summer Nelsis, I love you, but I can't stand Rathbone and I won't be staying long because of that. This is my first time watching him. I wasn't aware of his existence until I got sent this video. And why are you leaving me to suffer alone? I'm feeling like listening to him. My IQ drops. I become desperate and a bit, I experience depression and despair because why do I even bother knowing anything at all? Like, clearly stupidity sells. So why? Why?
I mean, yeah, and also his premise that all Jews and Muslims lived in peace. I mean, you can also, I mean, depend what you define. You can argue that black people and white people live in peace in the South before the emancipation. The fact is only after the emancipation, with all the lynching and the race riots, not before. I mean, what happened before 1867, everything was peaceful. I mean, you have black people and white people live in peace. Doesn't matter. Of course, they were not equal under the law, and there was under some kind of institution that, but they lived in peace, whatever that mean.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. Peacefully. So they got beaten and stuff. So, but it was peaceful. It was for their own good.
Yeah, basically the same Orientalism.
All right, let's continue. I mean, I cannot believe this person is being who is he? I mean, listen. I'm flattered they chose to react to my video a little bit, but thus far I'm disappointed. Seriously, like I said, people close to me roasted me way more painfully than this dude does.
I mean, we can talk about,
Now let's continue.
The reason why Zionism was ignited in the first place was kind of because Jews will not live peacefully in the Muslim land. Like if you read the Damascus affair, it was basically kind of like instrumental step in the creation of modern Zionism. The Damascus affair that I doubt that he's aware about.
No, I think it's beyond.
You have some, that very surface view that Zionism was created because of European anti-Semitism in the late 19th century. Of course, ignoring that it had many waves. There were many waves of basically created it. It wasn't just suddenly Herzl come out with this idea in the 1890 because some Europeans were ruled to him. It was basically entire process, but basically started mainly by Jews who already lived in Israel, mainly of the old Yeshua, who basically decided to establish settlements around Jerusalem, and then slowly it expanded to the diaspora, that idea.
All right, King Troll is saying, thank you for your support, and I agree with you. You should be getting debunked by smarter and better looking people. This is an assault. You guys, please find smarter, better looking people that would debunk me so I could react to that. Because this is kind of insulting, and I kind of Adin, I love you. You know a lot of stuff, but I feel like this is you cannot this is such a low level.
I'm not even trying.
I know. I feel like this knowledge deserves a better setup. Yeah. I kind of just want to make fun of him, to be honest, but
he looked like a hobo all the time.
Wow, yeah. I bet if he turns around, he has combs that broke off. Where's my comb? It's it's all stuck behind it, broken into pieces.
Mm-hmm.
All right, yes, let's do it.
They knew what they were doing, and they all agreed. And Rebecca, I'm sorry to say, but not even Zionists who founded the state of Israel agree with what you're saying. But let's continue on. We're only in the first minute so far.
I didn't say anything.
Joint Palestine finally was made, or the military district of Palestine, that was established as a military district of the Umayyad and the Abbasid province of Bilad el-Sham, that's the Levant, organized soon after the Muslim conquest of the Levant in the 7th century.
Again, we're talking about the 7th century. Thank you, Rebecca.
I mean, this is what history is all about. Do you get it? Like, when you will get it, that history doesn't start when in the 19th century. Like, there's that idea that basically all the conflict in the Middle East started when some Europeans draw lines. Everything before that was just peaceful, everyone saying kumbaya together, until Europeans came and draw lines, and this is where all the conflict started.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Like, this is their mindset. It's very Orientalist worldview.
Orientalist?
Yeah.
Isn't it like Occidental?
Basically, kind of like seeing the Middle Eastern people kind of like childish people who don't have their own mind and ambition. We just react to events that have been enforced upon them from foreign powers. Kind of like treat Middle Eastern people like children, basically.
I mean, John is kind of right here. John labeling that stupid Muppet top doesn't get the fact that Muslims haven't changed for the last 14 centuries. That's a good argument.
Yeah, we should continue.
Thank you for proving that is what is between your two ears is nothing but a wind tunnel. And I love how high and mighty you seem as you spout this nonsense about the 7th century. So you can have an excuse to savagely murder more babies. Does she have sources? Yes, her pipe. Her source is that she smoked. Exactly. They literally just make this shit up. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, you can be completely wrong about history and be...
I mean, if you want source, you can read Moshe Gil, History of Palestine from 636 to 1099. I really recommend this book. It's a very long book, unsurprisingly, but it's a very good source of history of the region in the early Islamic period. I think it's the most detailed account. It's the most detailed account that I think ever been written so far about this time period. Like, I have it with me. Like, it's 3 huge books, but you can find, I think, shorter version online.
Oh, cool. I should go come to your place and borrow that book then. If you recommend it.
This is the first part, basically.
Yeah, it's a light reading. Damn it. What? Okay, whatever. I'll grab it.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically confirm anything. I mean, Muslim Arabs were just a small minority throughout most of the time period it wasn't until like the 12th, at the earliest, they were not the majority until the 12th, at the latest, maybe the 14th century.
I think a lot of people like skip the part that what the Romans did, right? Whatever the Byzantines, the Romans did, they also completely ruined the land. As in, it wasn't, they burned it down, and then it just wasn't fit for anything. It was like, it wasn't even worth working the land, like using it for agriculture or anything, because it was ruined. Like, they ruined the land, they ruined it.
I mean, let's go to his approach and let's say, oh, all the history is irrelevant, or even let's go a step further. All the Zionist narrative about history is a big lie. Zionism are indeed foreign colonizers who come in the 19th century and colonize Palestine and all that. Like, okay, how that will justify destroying Israel in the present day? I mean, let's go to his logic, how he will use that history to justify destruction of a country to this day. I mean, there are many colonies or many countries who exist for very shady reasons. Israel is felt to be the only one. Why only Israel been singled out because of its alleged shady history of origin?
And literally, like, I made this video from the Palestinian perspective, like from where I was like, you know what, I put my pro-Palestine glasses on, and I'll be like, I didn't even talk about the percentages, like not really like the percentages of populations and things like that much, and like until the very end, like, because I was like, you know what, I don't want to get too much into it. I just want to do it from completely like from a Palestinian perspective, and like just have like not even talk about the Jews in a sense, except like, but like, but because if I do all that, there would be like so much more like.
I wonder if the same logic of basically history doesn't matter will you apply it? Oh, history doesn't matter, so we should not talk about black reparation for slavery or reparation for Native Americans. I wonder if we also apply that logic if history doesn't matter.
I mean, I don't believe in reparations.
But I doubt that he will agree with that argument. But if history doesn't matter, so why we should really talk about stuff like black reparation for slavery or Native American reparation for stolen land or something?
No, really, like, you guys, we have to do something about it. We have to, like, I want somebody to react on my video who understands, like, that history means history. And when I say the full history of Palestine, he cannot get mad when I talk about the history of Palestine. Like, they can debunk me in a different whatever way. Like,
if you want to debunk the historical narrative that she presents, give historical sources, maybe we'll glad to see some historical sources.
That would make it interesting. Maybe I'll learn something, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get enriched.
You just automatically jump, oh, history of Palestine doesn't justify the genocide that happened in Gaza. This is it. This is his argument. Like, this is the argument for retirees so far. Like, oh, this doesn't just, or whatever happened in the biblical time doesn't justify what happened to the Palestinians today. Whatever happened in the Second Temple is relevant to the genocide of Palestinians. Whatever happened in the Arab period doesn't basically.
And what they did this morning doesn't justify.
I mean, whatever happened in October 7 doesn't justify the genocide of Palestinians. I mean, this
like exactly the ballistic missile that Yemen sent tonight doesn't justify attacking Yemen.
I mean,
because it's ancient history already.
It's basically the entire point, the entire worldview that consequence doesn't matter. This is the point. Consequence irrelevant. It's only irrelevant when I pick a side that is a victim. It doesn't matter what caused it. Cause and effect doesn't matter. Like, so October 7 isn't relevant to what happened in Gaza. Or the Houthis attack on Israel isn't relevant to the Israel attack on Yemen. Like, it does, cause and effect are not exist, basically.
How do you live like that?
You basically just look at the side that doesn't have F-16, decide it's the victim, and no matter what happened, like, it doesn't matter what happened just yesterday or even this morning.
Do you think like he's stupid like that across the board? Like he cannot do like any, like, or is it just?
I mean,
because like the more like when I see somebody like that, I'm gonna be real. It's gonna change the perception I have on humanity. Like it kind of shatters an image I have of a human, of a person, of the things they can or cannot do. Like it's much easier for me to like excuse it with, well, it didn't have anything to say, but it was like, this is how it gets grifting, whatever it's called, you know, and just how is it called, you know,
I mean, this is
or is it like, or people are really like, and then there is this audience who listens to that and like accepts it.
I mean,
Like
for
they're
him,
mindless bots.
he basically just want to attack you that you're talking about the history of Palestine, mean you justify the genocide of the Palestinians. This is his argument.
Right. Like I said, I think humans, like the image of humanity I have in my mind of humans in general, is just shattering in front of me. No, maybe you just like, okay, it's okay. I know there is a certain percentage of the population which clearly the internet amplifies that have a IQ below 80. It's normal.
Mhm.
It's all right. Like it's a niche. I get it.
Mhm.
I just wish somebody who's like target audience is maybe even 90 IQ would comment on my videos, because you know.
Shall we continue?
Mm-hmm.
Completely relevant in society. It's unlike any other profession. A historian can be completely inaccurate, but be very successful. You can't be an inaccurate physicist or an inaccurate mathematician or an inaccurate rocket engineer. You know what I mean? You can say all this shit. I mean, I'll find you a historian that'll refute these things. And you can look at any comment section when we start talking about ancient history, just how there's no real consensus for it. And, you know, ultimately it has no bearing on international law. I just think the whole ancient history argument is so silly. I was going to say flimsy, but it's not even that. It's not even an argument. You know, you don't roller skate in a buffalo herd, and you don't justify ethnic cleansing citing ancient biblical history. All right? That's all I'm going to say. Do you know what I mean?
At this point, Palestine was very small and under military control, but there is no better liberation than the submission to Islam. Then
she's like trying to be highly sarcastic and deadpan, but like she's also just an ignoramus. You know, I think she needs to remove her head out of her ass.
Then, in the 11th century, a tragedy
Like, I'm just saying there were slaves there
by the Crusaders, and
it wasn't like a free, liberated, happy
Jews have
place.
endured
I'm just saying they were slaves there. It's not like it was a free, liberated place. You know?
Yeah.
It was like a good place to live at.
It's very funny, like you basically take the Ilan Pape approach. But basically historical truth doesn't exist. It's all about agenda narratives.
All right.
This is cool. Basically, I call it the Ilan Pape approach because he's basically the one who coined it.
So I get it. All right, I'll check.
I mean, Ilan Pape was basically been presented as an Israeli historian who exposed the evil of Zionism, but him himself, he said he is not. He said to himself that he's not historian. He's an ideological. He's ideological, basically. He basically his only job is to justify his own ideology, his own agenda. So basically, if it's that your worldview, it will not really matter. It's basically science denial at this point.
Oh, by the way, science denial. This guy clearly didn't go to engineering school. You know what's the favorite motto of a physicist, at least in the Technion? Did you ever hear? Naniach, nazniach, natzliach. We'll assume, we'll neglect, and we'll succeed. As in, no accuracy. If we're gonna get too accurate, we're gonna get nowhere.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like, can physicists be like inaccurate? And like, I know the good thing is like, naniach, nazniach, natzliach. You should see the model physicist, man. And he's like, yeah.
I mean, yeah, this is a fact. Eventually, Ilan Pape was called out by any respectful historian. Even by historians who are not even a lot in favor of Israel, but still, its entire approach is basically destroy the entire point of historiography. So yeah, let's continue.
A lot, so please look the other way, talk about something else. Let us get on with the worst crime against humanity in the modern era,
long time, Palestine was forgotten because later on, both the Muslim Mamluks and the Muslim Ottomans forgot to use that name. Before Palestine was finally liberated again by the Brits, it was split.
It's like that. This is just what popped in my head. Okay, in that scene, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think, where Bruce Lee does this whole long, drawn out thing, and then the other character just like beats it with like just one action. That's sort of what this is. Like, it's like, okay, Rebecca, are you done yet? Are you going to go on for another 2 minutes with your irrelevant argument? This is not. What are you trying to justify here?
Between Beirut.
I mean, what you try to justify here, Rebecca?
I'm just trying to go through the history of Palestine.
I mean,
It's called The Full History of Palestine.
I mean, yeah, of course, you can't tell history of anything if you're not necessarily justifying something to this day.
Can you believe it?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, each historian who taught history should be automatically question what it is justified. Like,
Exactly.
I'll go to the university, I go to my teachers on the University of History, and I ask each one of them, what is it supposed to justify? Like, yeah, like he will talk, like I have teacher of Ottoman Empire, I will ask him all the time, how this justify what happened to the Palestinians?
Yeah, I mean, I did have an agenda here to expose, like to share, like their kind of intent and mindset in the end of it, right? I tied it up, but it's mostly like for fun, and I thought it would be like funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that Rebecca has more followers on her YouTube channel than I do on my backup YouTube page, that is a crime of the century. That in and of itself is anti-Semitic. And I forgive none of you for making that a reality that I have to cope with. Okay.
And Mutasarrifat of Jerusalem.
May I have 10 times more followers than you from all your pages combined?
Amen.
That would be historic justice, poetic justice. You guys help me with that.
It only took her 5 months to get 13,000 views, so she's doing great, obviously.
As proper liberators.
This video really took off.
Re-established the Palestinian identity, invented the Palestinian flag, the
See,
Palestinian
that's proper roasting.
Yeah.
It's funny that you want to say invented all these things. This is another Israeli projection because my dad's older than Israel. Joe Biden's older than Israel.
I mean, everyone is older from some countries. What exactly that's supposed to prove? I'm older than South Sudan, so what?
I just said they invented the flag. And what did I say there actually? Can you go back?
Palestinian identity. Invented the Palestinian flag, the Palestinian kafia, and so.
It's funny that you want to say invented all these things. This is another Israeli projection because my dad's older than Israel. Joe Biden's older than Israel. You know, it's the Israeli state, which is literally an invention. It's a Zionist invention. It's a political movement invented in the 40s. Okay, and all of this shit was made up. Israel doesn't even have its own food or its own culture. They had to steal all these things from the indigenous people. That's what's.
I mean, everyone before the Arabs only eat dirt. Yeah. I mean, all countries are invented. The point is who and how this invasion come to be. Like all countries are not a doubt modern invention in some sort or another. The point is that Palestinian identity was mainly created by British and Pan-arabism.
And KGB.
The
thing is, like, most nations like invent their own flag, the kafia right? The way that it's shaped for the Palestinians was also brought, like, was not like by anyone that's Arab. It's like the whole thing is like with foreign powers. I mean, the Brits did it because they wanted a revolt against the Ottoman Empire. So they wanted to encourage the Arab sentiment of Arabism
Yeah.
to revolt against the Ottomans, so that they would have a reason and like to go against the Ottomans, who the Brits were fighting against. And the other group that actually had a big interest in having this national Arab, Pan-Arabic, or just Arabic identity are the Christians, who really, really, really took and led and rode on this wave of identity, of it being a national Arab identity instead of Islamic, which is the more indigenous way of identifying oneself in this area.
Inclusive. It was more
The
inclusive.
more, yeah, for like, you know, like Adin, I think he was Kurdish, or like, you know, the Mamluks were like the people they admire weren't exactly.
Technically speaking, the Arabs haven't have stopped ruled this area since the 9th century. Since the
Right,
9th
but
century, it's been ruled by Persians, Turks, Chechens, basically a Kurdish,
Circassians too. Like
Circassians, yeah,
some of them were Circassian.
Bosnian.
I don't remember
I
who.
mean, Muhammad Ali was Bosnian, for example. Yeah.
And for like the more like core factor was the religion, like if you're a Muslim or not. Like this is who they admired. They didn't look up necessarily at somebody and admired them for being like an Arab hero. They looked at him for being a Muslim hero. So when this opportunity to change the narrative from religion to just Arabism or something that is more secular, national, and then making the religion like more minor, is something that the Christians really pushed forward, because this is something that they felt, okay, finally we're gonna have like societies like in Iraq and Syria, like societies where we can be really part of, and not just dhimmis. And that held up for like what, the 60s, the 70s. Yeah, it broke down.
I mean, yeah. You're basically just going to repeat this argument, oh, my father is older than your state. Like, that's supposed to mean anything? Like, so what? Like, your father is probably older than most Middle Eastern countries. Doesn't mean anything. Like,
Brandon left. Rebecca, the culture needs you. You have unique style, and your voice is much needed. Keep fighting the good fight. You're a caviar, and opponents are high fructose corn syrup with food coloring. Thank you so much, Brendan. Yes, and I'm getting better with my video quality, I think. I hope.
yeah, let's continue.
And Nathan,
Settler
generic
colonies
message
do,
of support.
and that's
Thank
what you
Nathan.
do when you're an Israeli.
And so forth, and basically everything that has to do with the Palestine or Palestinians. But also the KGB can help.
Source, trust me, Rebecca.
But that's later.
The iconic image of Yasser Arafat in a black and white fishnet keffiyeh has become a symbol of Palestine, but that keffiyeh is a Palestinian. Yeah, I mean, I love when we talk about Yasser Arafat, who was born in Egypt because he's part of the diaspora because of Israeli Zionist occupation.
He was born in 1929, before the so-called 20 years before the Nakba, so he was not a result of the Israelis or something. It was because his parents have business in Egypt. So.
And by the way, like a lot of the Arabs, those that didn't immigrate when the Jewish and the those who didn't just follow the Jews into a more prosperous area due to, you know, the Brits as well built businesses here, but the Jews, you know, actually it was the 1840s with Ibrahim Pasha, where he forcefully brought people from Egypt to settle in Israel because there were no residents in Israel, so he brought them in. So that was during the 19th century.
Basically,
so that was the vast majority of them.
Yeah, basically in 1830 there was a revolt across Syria that included the region of Palestine, across all of Syria.
No,
During the
but
revolt, of course,
Ibrahim
Jews were
Pasha
massacred.
brought people. He
Yeah,
resettled people from Egypt to
yeah,
Israel.
he first expelled like over tens of thousands of people from the areas to suppress the revolt, and to fill that vacuum, he brought in people to basically.
I think he brought way more than he expelled. I think.
I mean,
like the numbers of the population in numbers from what I remember was like significantly more after he brought up.
I mean, we need to remember, like people always say, "Oh, Palestine was settled, was always lived with Arabs." I mean, what exactly Palestine are you referring to? Because that region, that border that you now calling historic Palestine, didn't exist until the British wrote it down in the 1920s. If you go back to the early 19th century, the region where almost all the Arabs lived in this area were basically Western Galilee, Northern Samaria, and Gaza. All the rest was basically empty. Basically, all the rest was basically, it was complete, maybe few Bedouin, nomadic Bedouin, but that's it. Like over 90% of the Arab population, Arab Muslim population, live on those specific three regions: Western Galilee, Northern Samaria, and Gaza. This is and basically what is interesting. Those are the regions that are today are Arabs. So technically speaking, we can say that the Zionists didn't cause any any significant ethnic displacement of Arabs. Regions that were Arab before are still Arabs now. With the Zionists basically settle in the coastline, eastern Galilee and the Negev Desert, places that were basically almost empty of Arabs.
Yeah, but why are you giving all this boring? Like, what's your agenda, sir? Like, why are you giving all this boring, like, historical information? Does it justify genocide, sir?
I'm justifying the genocide of the Palestinians. I'm saying historical facts because I want to genocide the Palestinians. I like to talk history because I want to genocide the Palestinians. This is always my agenda, to genocide Palestinians. If I'm talking about the Big Bang, it's because I want to genocide the Palestinians.
Wait till somebody crops that exact moment that you said out of context, and it's gonna run throughout Twitter, and every time you post anything, somebody's gonna post it as a video. It's like, oh, is this you?
Yeah, I'm basically going to crop this moment and see, hey, here is Adin hiking saying that he talking about history because he want to genocide the Palestinians. Yeah, I'm talking about why the dinosaurs went extinct because I want to genocide the Palestinians.
They were the OG Palestinians.
Yeah. This is the first genocide of the Palestinians. Yeah.
When the Jewish meteor came on Earth.
And there was kind of the ice age that was iceberg. Yeah, it's all there.
It's all there. Like literally, the lizard people that became Jews were on this matter.
Yeah, each history class was made to justify the genocide of the Palestinians.
Yes, exactly. Like even if when we study like history of like the United States or China, it's all for the justification of the actions that are being taken in this conflict here in the Middle East. No matter like anything, whatever we study, whatever we review, it's all for this one's purpose.
Yeah. So continue.
It's like they flee, and because these families of these refugees, their offspring are born in the exiled country.
Arafat was never a refugee.
Oh, look, they're not really Palestinian. No, you nitwit. They were forced to flee out of fear of violence. They're a refugee. They're part of the diaspora.
But alas, the Brits were both the liberators of Palestine and its worst enemies, because they had forgotten that the reason the Romans created Palestine to begin with was to eliminate the Jews, and then the...
I mean, that's big if true, Rebecca. But either way, whenever you get done with this dumb show, I'll just remind you that none of this matters in 2024. No one can cite biblical history to justify their violation of international laws and humanitarian laws, etc., which were all formulated, by the way, or at least reiterated in the wake of...
Like, if there is about 7
How much does it think the Bible contains? Because even the Talmud was written before Islam was invented, like a couple of centuries.
It's basically
like
just
how vast.
It's like argue that Greek exists. The Greek justification for the existence of Greek is because the Greek mythology. It's because you think that Greek have right to exist because Zeus and the Olympus basically created everything and made the Greek people the superior people above all nations and all that. It's basically the same straw man. Like,
Oh, he does music. Somebody hear that saying? Wait, guys, he just has a fan club from his shitty music.
Yeah,
I kind of want to redo this. I kind of want to redo this video where I can actually pronounce the words properly and not like swallow them. Like I can do way better job actually roasting the quality of the video, but I guess it's not actually the content. I can even roast the content myself. Like say like I should have like.
Yeah, let's continue.
The whole, which is the irony that should be lost on no one.
And to make sure they have nowhere to live. Luckily, the local Arab population did not forget the original.
Did she misspell Samaritans? Oh my God! Now she's
of Palestine and remind.
Yeah, she wants to show two geopolitical heads of state meeting with each other as a way to say, look, Amin al-Husseini is a Nazi. See, there he is photographed with Hitler. Well, I guess so is Neville Chamberlain. I guess every head of state that had a meeting with him must also be Nazi. Dumb ass.
I mean, the difference is that Neville...
Where did I misspell Samaritans? That's the
but
interesting
the Mufti was during wartime and they discussed the final solution to the Jewish question, unlike Neville Chamberlain, but was during peacetime and where it was diplomacy to prevent a world war. So it's basically a very stupid comparison. This argument is not because he just happened to photograph with Adolf Hitler, therefore he's a Nazi. He's a Nazi because he's a Nazi. I mean, he was literally paid by the Nazi government to spread Nazi propaganda.
You know what I have to say about it? Yeah. That is true. That is true. Cats only.
I mean, why do you feel the need? It's not even biblical or even, ancient history or whatever. It's the same 1940, the same World War II, World Order that you're referring to. Why do you still feel the need to deny history, even if it's supposedly so recent? It's not ancient history. Like, you still have the need to deny history. I mean, it just shows that it isn't about whether or not ancient history, whatever ancient history, it's relevant. It's about any actions, any actions the Palestinians did is matter, whatever or not we should treat any cause of event. Basically, the Palestinians should not have any accountability for their own action.
Wait, I want to say something. Somebody told us, take your white asses back to Poland and Jersey. I've never been to Jersey, or I visited Poland with school and stuff. Are you Polish, Adin?
Me?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm 1/4 Polish, I guess. 1/4.
Yeah, really? You have
Great grandparents from Galicia region. Although, if the present day, the territory is the present day in Ukraine, so
Mhm.
I mean, I'm
So,
also Morocco and Iraqi, so
would you like send your leg to Poland?
mm,
Would you like send your leg to Poland?
maybe.
I mean, I'm sure they don't care if you like. I'm pretty sure like Poland just means like the gas chambers. They don't actually mean like a real place.
Mm,
Do they ever actually mean Poland, or is it just a reference to gas chambers?
mm.
Is it really like Poland, or is it just reference to gas chambers and they say Poland so that they wouldn't be flagged or something?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Like when people say, "No, go back to Poland," like do they mean like go back to Poland, or do they mean like go back to the go to the
I
gas
mean, let's
chambers
give
and
it
they
the
use
benefit of the
Poland?
doubt. It's basically, Poland was before World War II was considered the biggest concentration of Jews in the world before the war. Like I think over 3 million Jews lived in Poland, which was the highest Jews that ever lived at this point at any country. So basically we have the assumption that every modern Jew is related to Poland. Of course, ignoring that over 90% of those Polish Jews were wiped out in the Holocaust. So actually, only few Jews actually who live today can trace their ancestry to Poland. So
I don't know, like, but after they wrote to Nusayo that he should go back to Poland, I'm pretty certain, and they never meant Poland. It was always just their inner joke and like, oh, let's fool the idiots and make make it a passable. Is like, but what we actually mean is something else.
yeah.
Here, like a Jew is saying, Auschwitz was the largest concentration camp of Jews in Poland. Maybe this is what they mean. I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Continue.
Love to show this picture of Amin al-Husseini, who was the Grand Mufti of Palestine in the time of World War II, speaking with Hitler, as if that is a justification for what? The fact that the Palestinians don't deserve humanity. They don't deserve human rights because one of the leaders of Palestine met with Hitler. So by that rationale, the people of Britain are no longer people, and they don't deserve Great Britain because Neville Chamberlain also met with Hitler. And any other, I'm sure there's so many other heads of state that had to meet.
Okay.
That means that they're.
Can I say something?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't disagree here completely. Neville Chamberlain sucked ass, but the Brits they did a correction, tikkun, and brought Churchill. So, like, if somebody fixes their ways, if somebody becomes normal, then you cannot hold a grudge, okay? If for some reason, like a miracle would happen and the Palestinians would start behaving like human beings, like high standard of human beings, then sure, like whatever, like yeah, let's reopen everything, let's negotiate. Like I am not against it, like per se. Right, like the Brits, like they had for a long time decided that they want to be like not like they fixed their ways and they kicked out Neville Chamberlain and everything, like and did a tikkun and didn't suck as much and tried to fix stuff and like they came with a mixed bag, versus those who are just like genocidal maniacs who have no logical reasoning whatsoever and brought nothing to this world but destruction, hate, and a stupid ideology and abuse towards children and women. So why would I want to support them in any way, shape, or form? Yeah. They never did anything for me to reevaluate that position. If they had at any moment stopped being the awful genocidal assholes that they are, then sure. But even today, speaking to them, they clearly want to wipe out all the Jews, and it doesn't matter what's happening to them. It doesn't matter how much they suffer. They still have the same ideology. They're still Nazis.
I mean,
So why would I reconsider the way I view them?
Chamberlain was praised to this day by British people for meeting with Hitler, then yeah, it would matter that he met with Hitler. This is the argument. Like, the argument is that the Mufti is praised because he met with Hitler, not despite of it.
Exactly.
I mean, it would be problematic if Neville Chamberlain was praised for this to this day. Then it will be comparable.
Exactly. Like, if the Germans would have stayed Nazis, then I'm sorry. You know, we would have to fight them, whatever it takes, right?
And again, just this entire agenda is basically to ignore any accountability for the Palestinians. Basically, the Palestinians, it doesn't matter what the Palestinians ever done. It doesn't. Every actions doesn't have any effect ever. The action don't ever have any consequence. It's only Israelis who just act who only do what they do because they're evil people who wave the Bibles and want to genocide everyone because the Bible.
Was it you who sent me this video by? No, it wasn't you. I'll send it to you so maybe we can watch it. Because I think it's relevant. Here, it's this one. But yeah, a Jew saying river to the sea is a call for Jewish genocide, but the Western society accepted under the grab of. Yeah, obviously, if at any point, even right now, the Palestinians can decide that they stop being Nazis.
I mean,
I would view them differently.
If the Palestinians try to surrender and see what will happen, just as an experiment, to surrender and see what will happen if the Israelis, if the Palestinians will surrender and the Israelis still genocide and oppress them or whatever, then I will say, yeah, we have a legitimate argument to resist. But what I never heard of them I mean, no one ever suggests this idea to them. I mean, just to check, just do a small experiment. If it will not work, promise me I will switch side at the moment.
Yeah, we also this experiment already happened. I don't know if you noticed, but we have a lot of Israeli Arabs.
Yeah, I mean, you can point out that, man.
Yeah, you can point out that experiment is it happened a lot of times.
I mean,
especially if you take into account the Chod Mishpachot and all those kind of things, people getting continuously getting citizenship.
See what will happen if the Palestinians will surrender, just for a day. Just surrender for a day. Let's see how the Israelis will react.
Yeah.
If Israelis will still oppress them or whatnot, I personally will switch side. I will join the Palestinians.
Personally, in the day where they treat women properly, I would switch sides. Mm-hmm. I need another layer above it, because as a woman, I cannot stand the way they treat women. Mm-hmm. So I have a double war here, not just as a Jew, but also as a female. Mm-hmm. To me, that's the thing. That's another thing that when people don't say, as a woman, my war is way deeper than them not accepting Jews, because even if they have peace with Jews, the war would continue to exist for me as a woman. It's still a war. We are human beings. I would not accept a society that views women as less as property. I'm sorry, just not.
But I'm a guy, so I don't care.
Exactly. I don't know if you care or not, but that's the thing. There's people here they are calling for peace with Israel. I don't care, sir. Mm-hmm. Actually, my resentment is way, way deeper than that. Because guess what? I could never change. Yeah. You can change religion, but you cannot change your gender. I'm sorry, wokesters. You cannot.
Yeah, let's continue.
So the people that that those heads of state served, they don't deserve their countries either. Apart from that, this is actually interesting because, you know, as Kwame Ture points out very unapologetically, that Hitler actually weakened Western imperialism. You know, the Western powers were weakened because they had to fight Hitler. Hitler was at war with Britain and the United States and France. This could be seen as a positive contribution to...
Hitler was a good guy after all because he weakened the imperialist powers. Yes, I mean, very woke. Praising Hitler to own the Zionist. I mean, yeah, this is a
I mean, I love it.
very
I love
good
it. I love it. We
position
reached the
of-
conclusion that Hitler was a good guy. Oh my God.
I mean, yeah,
Full
very
circle.
good. You have
Full
very
circle.
good leg to stand on. Yeah, I mean,
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
yeah, at least Hitler weakened the imperial power. I mean, I mean, that's the question. Do you think it was worth it? I mean, the Holocaust was worth it to weaken the imperial powers?
Clearly, because now it's a free go for the imperialism that is Islamic.
I mean, yeah.
Now they can conquer the world,
I mean,
and
yeah,
they
no,
got rid of a lot of Jews. So, win-win situation.
yeah. Wow, just so woke you praise Hitler, huh?
occupied people, such as those in Palestine, you know, and other territories that were occupied by the great imperial powers. More than one thing can be true at the same time. Another thing I'll say is that who colonized Palestine? Does everybody know what was the colonizing force in Palestine? Well, that would be Britain or England and the English. The English colonized Palestine. Okay,
I
the
know.
Balfour
It's so-
Declaration, right? Arthur Balfour was a British government official who was speaking on behalf of the British Parliament, the British Prime Minister, Lloyd David George, when he wrote that quick letter to the Zionists saying that it is our intention to establish a Jewish national home in the land of Palestine. From then, as you might assume, Palestinians viewed Britain as the enemy. And indeed, they were. They propped up a...
I mean, by his logic, it's justified for Eastern European people to join the Nazis to resist the Soviet occupation.
The Ukrainian, like the Ukrainians,
Like the Ukrainians or Romanians and all
but it's
Belarusians.
but
I mean, I guess according to him, we should not be complaining when Eastern Europeans were Nazi collaborators because they did it to oppose the Soviet occupation. I doubt that you know, people like him tend to be very warm views about the Soviet Union. So I doubt that he will accept that reason. I mean,
it's also
are you complaining about the Ukrainian collaboration with the Nazis? They only did it to oppose their Soviet occupiers.
I don't know, man.
I mean, yeah.
He likes Hitler. Come on, we could have stopped there. I was like, okay, fine.
Hitler was a chill guy because he fought the British, which it's caused Arabs to feel more free. Basically, this is his argument. It's good. It's good for the Arabs to be Nazis because it's helped them to feel more free from the Jews.
Yes, Amos has a great point. Didn't he say that history is irrelevant to what's going on now? Why does he talk about the British Empire out of this?
Why would the British Empire will matter to whatever or not the Palestinians joined the Nazis? I mean, if history doesn't matter, why should it matter what was the reason that Palestinians settled with the Nazis? I mean, you say that, why should it matter what was the reasoning?
No, this is such an...
I mean,
it's so, you know what bothers me in the end of the day? That people just, they talk now. Nobody talks about the actual things that matters. It's like, what kind of society I'd love to live under? You know, in ancient times, like, nationality wasn't a thing. People just followed, like, they were like, who is the better manager, we're gonna be on his territory, like, you know, like who has the better system to offer.
I mean,
and
I would
then
argue
it's like,
I would also argue what the man that the British never colonized Palestine. And Palestine was never a British colony. It was a mandate. So
yeah,
it's just completely stupid justification. I mean, was not even a colony.
yeah. And
I like how I like how he treat the Balfour Declaration as kind of like a random British guy suddenly declare, let's give this area to the Jews. Like, of course, ignoring it wasn't just the British, it was a process that the international community back then basically recognized, like it was France, and then Italy, and then the United States, and then Japan, and then China, and then Thailand, and then Turkey, and then even the Arabs under Hussein, under King Hussein. Eventually, each one of them recognized that the Jews have national right in Palestine. In fact, it wasn't giving the Jews Palestine; it was recognized that Jews are already in Palestine. You need to remember that already back then there was a quite sizable Jewish community in Palestine that already established itself with institutions that already become the seeds of Israel, basically. So they would just recognize what was already happening. They didn't create anything. They didn't give the Jews. They just recognized the Jews.
all right. Anyway, yeah, like, okay, so I'll tell you something. Like, the problem now is that at some point, or like treating this as like, oh, I support Palestine, I support Israel, where in reality, like, let's take it before nationalism, right? It was like, as a person, would you rather live in a place where you have this kind of a structure or that kind of a structure, this kind of ideology or that kind of ideology? And this is all that matters, right? Like, and once you were like, you know what, I support Palestine because I believe in their system, and they never just say out, like, go out and admit it. Just say you want women to be slaves. Like, I know these people, they feel like they want to have slaves. They feel like they want to have, they would be able to treat their children as their own property and abuse them. They are the people who want to enslave and ape women. These are the people. This is why they are supporting them. And those are degenerate people. And nobody would effing admit it. They are not supporting Palestine for no reason. They are supporting it because they have fantasies where they are the ones who enslave. And this is why they support them, because they ideologically aligned with them.
Okay.
Settler colony and began ethnically cleansing the indigenous people of Palestine. And around the time of the Second World War, when it became clear that, you know,
I mean, how many, like, there was basically 0 Palestinians who were ethnically cleansed before World War II. I mean, there was Palestinians that they approached land, and then because they approached the land, Palestinians basically moved because they sold out the land. But will you count this as ethnic cleansing to buy land?
a world war was going to break out in 1938. You see, Rebecca, you see how I'm going back to modern history that will explain the current geopolitical crisis? I don't go back to 7th century or 3 BCE.
I mean, when modern history began, really? What's the line?
Which is from the 19.
What's the line we are not allowed to cross? But basically everything before that, it's ancient history. Everything after that, it's completely relevant. We need to only talk about that. Where we draw the line? Like at Balfour, at the First Zionist Congress, at what? I mean, we always love to say, oh, we talked about October 7. It didn't start on October 7. It started in 1948. Let's talk about 1948. It didn't start in 1948. It started with Balfour. Okay, let's talk about Balfour. It didn't start with Balfour. It started with the first Zionist Congress. Then let's talk about the first Zionist Congress and let's talk about the geopolitical situation. Then it's ancient history. It's irrelevant. Basically, somewhere we just draw the lines of somewhere we don't at some point we don't want to talk about context.
It's easy. It depends.
Yeah.
Whether it is, if it works for their narrative, then or not. Like this war starts at the October 8th or even the end of October. October 7th doesn't count because that's in ancient history.
Yeah. Damn it, I accidentally deleted. Wait.
It's okay. I kind of feel like I don't want to did he say anything after that?
Yeah, right.
I mean, we got to the point where he's admits that he kind of feels like.
Yeah, I mean, let's hear a little bit.
All right.
Kwame Ture points out that who colonized Palestine? Does everybody? When he wrote that quick letter to the Zionists saying that it
is skip
the 7th century or 3 BCE or whatever. I don't cite the Bible. I cite the modern historical record. I think it was called the 1938 White Paper. It might be 1939. Let's see. White Paper of 1939. Okay. So this was the series of concessions that the British government made, a little too little and a little too late. It was a policy paper issued by the British government, led by Neville Chamberlain, who was also pictured with Hitler and must also be a Nazi.
I don't get it. Now is history fine now? I thought it's boring shit that nobody needs to talk about. It just doesn't justify anything.
I thought every history was supposed to justify the genocide of the Palestinians. So what you're doing, you're now currently, Rathbone is currently justifying.
He's trying to justify the future genocide of the Brits, which is kind of looks like it's being
which made concessions that the Palestinians had been demanding for decades. Ever since the Balfour Declaration was uttered in 1917, the Palestinians have been trying to delegate for their own human rights and their own land, resources, and labor, their own autonomy, their own self-determination ever since 1917. And they were systematically denied, and repeated pogroms, basically cleansing them of the land.
First it's false. The British first blocked Jewish immigration between 1917 to 1920 under the military rule. It was not until 1920 when the Balfour Declaration actually came to the effect. Even that, throughout the 1920s, they limited Jewish immigration out of economic grounds. And then beginning of the 1930s, we started a spectrum system that also severely limited Jewish immigration to Palestine, even as the Nazis rise to power. So the idea that they ignoring until the White Paper is completely false. And what pogrom is talking about in the 1920s? The only pogroms were happened by the Palestinian Arabs against the Jews. It just made shit up as he's talking about, as his talk just made shit up.
Occurred at the behest of the British government and enforced by the British Army. So by 1939, it becomes clear that England will be at war with Germany soon. And finally, the White Paper of 1939 is being issued. Okay, this is a political document, of course, and the timing of it is not coincidental. It's happening because the heads of the British government understand that part of this world war will be fought in the Middle East, and they have treated the Palestinians very, very poorly, to say the least, in the decades of occupation in their pursuit to their goal of establishing the Jewish national home in the land of Palestine. So they issue.
What exactly Jewish national home meant from that perspective? Because I can assure you, he didn't meant what he think he meant. I mean, the Zionists were not even sure what exactly Jewish national home meant. I mean, for many Zionists back then, it just means just live as a small federation inside Palestine along with Palestinians. It didn't mean to create ethnic cleansing of Arabs, to create a pure ethnic Jewish state. I mean, when they looked at Jewish national home, they looked more like at Syria, for example. Syria under the French mandate was basically broke down into small ethnic mandate. There was the area that was belonged to the Druze, the area that belonged to the Christians, the area that belonged to Alawites. And so basically many Zionists look at the Syrian example and say, hey, we want basically that. Let's basically have Palestine, and that Palestine will be broken down into kind of like small autonomy or region, but there will be the region for the Jews and the region of the Palestinian Arabs, and basically everyone basically live under kind of like the same government, but break it down into small autonomy. This is what they thought in mind when we say Jewish national home. I mean, it's basically very anachronistic view of what Jewish national home meant.
He's not British, he's American.
American, yeah, he's American. He is descendant of slave owners.
Makes sense. He wants to go back to that. Clearly, this is why he's supporting the Palestinians.
I mean, maybe this is why his story doesn't matter according to him. What a coincidence, huh? Descendants of slave owners say that his Chinese story is irrelevant.
I mean, I don't want to be like, I don't want to say anything, but like, if he comes from, like, I don't see why would you want to support this cause unless you want to be a slave owner or abuse women or things like that. Like, these are evil people to begin with. That's why you would support other evil people. So I think he just wants to go back to the previous glory of having slaves. That's the only thing that I think he thinks. Mm-hmm. And by the way, this talk is so dangerous. Like, if you actually are sensitive to real humans, you'd realize that this is the situation where the UK is right now, England is right now, is very sensitive. And the way that people talk, like they are preparing the ground for something very unpleasant to happen inside England.
Yeah.
Like that would happen, it would be justified because of people like him were like clearly like they deserved it.
Yeah, let's continue.
Like this is what's happening. I don't know if there are any British people here, just know what's being done to you. Like this is a preparation. Those are preparations. These narratives are preparations. And Michael Feldman saying you're doing a great job. Thank you so much for your support. Do you see what I sent you, by the way? If we can, maybe if I want to watch it just a little bit, and then.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think I saw it before. Yeah. Wait. Okay, let's continue.
This policy paper to make concessions to Palestinians, things that they were demanding, in a way to have them not side with Germany, because that could be a liability, that could be another headache.
Technically, the white paper gave them everything. It basically gave them a democratic state from the river to the sea where the Palestinians, Arabs will be the majority. It's basically everything. All they need to do is just to wait 10 years, absorb some few tens of thousands of Jewish refugees, which will not change the demographic makeup. It will be like very small fraction, like 75,000 out of like a million. It will not change the demographic. So all they need to do, just in 10 years, they will get a Palestinian state, a democratic Palestinian state from the river to the sea, where they will be the absolute majority of it. So what exactly wrong with it? Why we didn't accept it? Like, why we rejected and still go met with Hitler despite it?
Headache for the British government if the indigenous people in Palestine take up arms for Germany and fight against England. It's a little bit of the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and that should tell you.
I mean, the Germany were kind of like a bit more than the Nazis were a bit more than just friend for them.
How evil the British Empire was. These people had to go seek help any way that they could. I mean, you really, this is what it boils down to, Rebecca. You can't judge a people's right to resist or in the manner that they resist, okay? These people were being and are being systematically annihilated by a savage, brutal, violent, imposing, dominant imperial power. And you're not in that position, Rebecca. Okay, you don't know what these people are.
Okay, will that apply to the Ukrainians collaborating with the Nazis to oppose the Soviet occupation?
Obviously, he's for the Nazis. Why you like? I like when you like. I feel like this meme where like
you can't judge
I'm already convinced. You don't have to convince me further. Like the more you are like, oh, but they work with Nazis, the more like, yeah, good, Nazis, good.
I mean, you can't judge people how they resist. I mean, yes, you can. Of course, you can criticize people how they resist. Being a resistant doesn't give you any moral high ground. It just means you're in the
Can you imagine
position. Being a resistance doesn't automatically give you some moral high ground. The Ku Klux Klan was founded as a resistance group against the Northern occupation of the South. Does that give him some moral high ground? I mean, you can point out to many resistance groups which we criticize all the time.
I mean, I don't wanna I'm just saying, you idiot. Well, you're right now justifying somebody doing something to you to protest the American involvement in the Middle East because you're an American and America is involved in the Middle East and not everybody here is happy about it, including us Israelis sometimes. So you are justifying any sort of resistance to this type of involvement that the Americans are doing here, and that would actually also include hurting you. Just so you know what you're justifying.
I kind of already assume that he does justify it, that he just genuinely believes.
I think he would. I think if somebody hurts him, he'd be like, yeah, you know what, I deserve it.
To the American imperialism in the Middle East. Like I assume he already on that position for experience. He probably do believe it. I mean, but it's kind of stupid worldview that, if you are resistance, you have some kind of you are above everyone else. You can't be criticizing for what you're doing. I mean, yes, you can criticize and you should be criticized. I mean, people criticize all the time a resistance group. I mean, we criticize the Ukrainian people during World War II for collaborating with the Nazis, even if it was to resist the Soviet occupation. We criticize many insurgency groups from across the world. I guess yes. I guess he will not apply the same logic to resistance group against Soviet government or against Soviet occupation. I mean, will he apply that too? I mean, you can't criticize how people choose to resist. I mean, this is just stupid it's just stupid moral worldview, man.
Going through, and you don't have the right to tell them that their resistance doesn't rise to the level of moral purity that you set for them, especially.
I mean, even it's not about moral purity, it's about just being stupid. I mean, if the Palestinian people didn't side it with the Nazis and accepted the British proposal, they will technically get everything they wanted. Supposedly, they will get for a democratic Palestine from the river to the sea, well, they will be the ethnic majority, which from that point they could do whatever they want with the Jewish people. So they could choose after that to expel the Jews democratically. So if you're talking about right, they already got it from the British. It's just they were so stupid to not accept it. I mean, this is just, even if we ignore the morality of siding with the Nazis,
you know what is
just a very stupid move, which would just be a huge blowback to them.
You know what is like a pick-me person. Like, he's like, oh my God, like I'm not like other girls, like I'm not a feminist, and I would totally like massage my man every night when he comes from work after I worked all day and I cooked dinner, and like I totally get it. And like other women who think that men shouldn't be just sitting on the couch after they come back from home, ignoring your existence. They're not cool. They're not right. Actually, I think women should be slaves. And I personally believe that I should be a slave, and I would love to be a slave, and I'll be like the best slave ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, okay.
Did you look in the mirror, you idiot? But like they think they don't do that because they are using like a roundabout method to do so.
Palestinians have some kind of Palestinians are above everyone else in terms of morality. I mean, morality doesn't apply to them, cause and effect doesn't apply to them, logic doesn't apply to them. They're always the response. If they respond something that seems irrational, it's because they are so oppressed or they so that. So how dare you to criticize what they're doing? How dare you to point out that it just been blowback after blowback to their own cause? I mean, we should support blindly and uncritically whatever the Palestinians are doing, no matter how much it will just going to get screw themselves over and over and over again. Because,
Yep.
Yeah,
when you're the ones that are doing it to them. You're doing all this evil shit to them, and then you're watching how they resist you, and you're saying, well, we're going to hold them to the capabilities of the rich Western countries. You're cooked at that point.
It's like the rich Western countries were born rich and Western. I mean, they are Western technically, no matter what they do, but like it was always like that. It's not like India had like, or like other areas. It's not like the actual start of civilization started in the Middle East, where they were way richer and more developed than the Europeans who are in the West. It's like as if they're randomly richer. It's not because they chose a better governance system and ideology and decided to work hard and progress and develop a science that they got to where they're at. No. They're just magically richer.
Mm-hmm. Richer because, the evil nature calls them to steal from the poor, oppressed people. Oppressed people.
Life is a lottery.
We can't expect any rationality for poor, oppressed people because they're poor and oppressed people. So, of course, they will do whatever poor and oppressed people will do. And how dare you to question and criticize it? Yeah.
Political crisis. And they're occupied people, and occupied people have the right to resist, and we have no right to judge them in the manner that they resist. Once you give human rights to people, then I think you can judge them on, if you want, on certain, I don't know, domestic policies or international policies that they pursue. But the point is that they deserve human rights. It's not like a precondition. Maturity is not a
When were they supposedly human rights were taken for them? What is exactly the point when they lost their human rights?
I mean,
what was the point? In 48,
I'll explain.
in the Balfour Declaration, what was the point that they supposedly lost human rights? And then from now on, we shouldn't criticize them because they lost their human rights. What is the exactly?
Let me explain, Adin. It's just that you are looking at it wrong. You just don't understand what human rights are. Basic human rights are to own slaves, to abuse women, to abuse your children. These are basic human rights we all deserve to have. Unless you're a woman, then you're not human. Then you don't deserve human rights.
Yeah.
And when you take away the ability to enslave others, you're taking away their rightful human rights, and this is why they had their human rights been taken away from them.
Like, I remember reading how the British were basically coming to a huge dilemma in the 1930s because they tried to raise the age of consent for girls from the age of consent was 12, 13 in Palestine. So we tried to raise it up to 15, 16, and it's caused a backlash. Oh, you try to wipe out the Arab culture from Palestine by raising the age of consent. I mean, is that kind of like the human rights that were taken for them that you want to give back to the Palestinians? I mean,
Yeah, but this is what they're fighting for. Their human right is to kill infidels. Their human right is to marry, like have consensual marriage with 1-year-olds. Like that's
the
their
British,
mindset, and this is what they're fighting for. This is legitimately. This is what the fight is about. This is like genuinely, this is what the war is about. Like honestly speaking, if you take out all the crap, if you really got to the bottom of this, that is what this war is about.
yeah. I mean, the British basically de facto abolished slavery in Palestine. Was this included in the rights that were taken from a Palestinian?
Yes, Adin, yes. I'm not being cynical. I'm being completely honest. It's something that the world has to acknowledge. This is the human rights they are complaining about that were taken away from them. This really are the human rights they believe in. Except their definition of human is narrower than ours.
I mean, let's ask even a basic question, Rathbone. Do you even think that the Palestinians you are fighting for even believe in the human rights that you claim that they lost?
To him, it doesn't matter.
Do you even think they believed in what you want to give them?
Okay, can we go to the other video for a little bit? I mean, we can continue. Can we just watch it quickly all the way through, and then just watch a little bit of the next video, and then
40 seconds and
all
it's
right.
over.
Precondition to acquiring human rights. Okay.
Stop scrolling. Hey, YouTube friends.
Oh, it's the end.
Not content.
Oh, so yeah, we got to the end.
It's the end. All right, perfect. Okay, so let's watch just a little bit of what I sent you, just to make it clear what human rights they're referring to when they say human rights.
Wait a second. First there is ads. I'm waiting for the ads to end. Yeah, now why it gave me an ad? Yeah, now I can go show screen.
Like, imagine like an elevator music. Okay.
المناسب اللي انت بتشوفيه للصراع، للوضع، للمشكلة، للأزمة.
كل شيء غير سلام.
Everything but peace.
Oh, why?
The 17 year old. ليش؟
صراحة ما في سلام لأنه أصلاً يعني.
Because there isn't any peace, to be honest. أنت شو رأيك؟
يعني أنا من رأيها صراحة لأنه ما في أي شيء أصلاً بدنا
My opinion is like her opinion because there's nothing that called for peace.
What is your solution to the conflict with the Israelis?
In my opinion, I think there's no solution.
There's no solution?
Because the land is only for us, not for them.
Okay.
And I think in their religion that it's the original, this land is originally for them.
Maybe you could find a way to share the land? Both peoples?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Because it's just their land. They are stealing us. Obviously, they are stealing us just like that. It's not their land. It's only our land.
Okay, I kind of like get it. Like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, that's the mindset.
I mean,
like that's the genuine mindset for them. It's like they're gonna fight until we're all gone, or they are all gone, and then it's a win-win. Like it's also a win situation for them because they genuinely believe that they're gonna get, like this is the purpose of life is to fight and be a jihadist and then get into heaven, which clearly there aren't a lot of ways to get into heaven in Islam. Basically, living a normal life would get you to hell almost 100% of the times, right? Just living a normal life would get you to hell. The only way not to get there is to fight. So that's their mindset, like this, and it's toxic. It's so toxic, and they're like genuine, like they genuinely believe it. They genuinely would rather not exist, because this is like, what's worse, like suffering here a little bit or for eternity in hell? What's worse, right? That's the price function they have in their heads.
Yeah, basically everything or nothing.
Yeah, because if you don't do that, if you don't live by those principles, then you're going to go to hell and suffer for eternity. This is how toxic their book is and their belief system is. This is something what we have to acknowledge. It's not a religion of peace, it's religion of pieces. Like, it's so dangerous, it's so it's so depraved, it's so dangerous, where like, I think Adin is stuck. Adin, are you here? Anyway, yeah. Oh no, you're here. Now I'm saying it's just so like broken that there is no way out unless you stop believing in it. That's the only way out. All right, kids, stay away from Islam. I think it's time for us to go.
Yeah, we are like 2 hours, Mark.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Adin, for coming and spitting facts. Spitting facts. Thank you so much for that.
Very nice being here.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night and happy Hanukkah.